The anti-Semitic interpretation of Thus Spake Zarathustra by Nietzsche. Quite early on, in a letter to his friend Franz Auerbach in 1887, so only a couple of years after the final publication of Thus Spake Zarathustra, Nietzsche describes the anti-Semitic interpretation of Thus Spake Zarathustra in 1887. He states in this letter to Auerbach that the Anti-Semitic Correspondence, a paper, magazine, publication, which was sent only to reliable party members privately. Nietzsche states that he is mentioned in this publication nearly every issue. So we can only conclude from this that Nietzsche was a subscriber to this anti-Semitic correspondence. Nietzsche then goes on to say that there is an anti-Semitic interpretation of his Zarathustra, presumably, as described in this publication. And in the letter, as translated by Middleton, he says that he has a good laugh at this anti-Semitic interpretation. But while good laugh, colloquially in British speech, tends to be a ridiculing statement, it could also be, from another cultural standpoint, merely an appreciation. I was very happy about so-and-so. So the anti-Semitic interpretation of Zarathustra made me happy. And Nietzsche then goes on in the same passage, saying that he has spoken with various authorities on anti-Semitic matters, so implying again that he was in contact with such people, in outing all those German scholars, writers, musicians, etc., who were either Jewish or partly Jewish. And he said that this would be a very good thing for German culture. Isn't this, again, the tactics used by anti-Semites to pick out those who were really Jewish or partly Jewish? Isn't this in itself an anti-Semitic thing? Again, the way that the letter is presented by Middleton, we get the suggestion that somehow Nietzsche is ridiculing this, but he can't be, because he is saying that he has spoken to an authority on such things. And then he goes on, in parenthesis, to say that the above, i.e. what he has said about the anti-Semitic correspondence, about the anti-Semitic interpretation of Zarathustra, and about outing Germans who are Jews, he says this has nothing to do with his brother-in-law, the well-known anti-Semite Bernard Foster. And he says that he has quite cordial relations with Foster. Although, of course, Foster at the time was out in Paraguay, setting up his Germanic colony. So it cannot be Foster who has these publications, or these ideas, or is the authority referred to. Nietzsche must have been a subscriber to the Anti-Semitic Correspondence, and also in touch with anti-Semites. And it is quite possible that he regarded the anti-Semitic interpretation of Zarathustra as quite a good thing. And it's quite easy to see how Zarathustra can be interpreted from an anti-Semitic perspective, because Zarathustra, Zoroaster, is the Aryan prophet of the Persians. And in Nietzsche's interpretation, this Aryan prophet, who was the first to describe life as a battle between good and evil, i.e., to put morality at the center of life, the universe, and therefore influence these Semitic prophets and the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. It was an Aryan, Zarathustra, who influenced this. And of course, Nietzsche regards Christianity in particular as being the biggest blight on humanity. So his concept in Zarathustra, as he tells us in his autobiography, Ecce Homo of 1888, his idea of Zarathustra was to go back to Zarathustra and correct his mistakes. So almost like a time traveler going back thousands of years to correct a mistake, which would therefore, by the laws of causality, if such be, would therefore cause the occurrences in history to be different. Had Zarathustra not preached a moral universe, and therefore he would not have influenced the Semites. Had he preached an Aryan dictum, like those of his Aryan kindred in India or Greece or even Germany, had he preached an Aryan outlook, a master morality, an affirmative outlook, an ultra-moral outlook, then the Semitic Abrahamic religions would not have happened. In a sense, he is almost suggesting that Zarathustra is a way of writing these Semites out of history. And what could be more anti-Semitic than that? And yes, Zarathustra would bring forth not a religion of the pitiful, the humble, or the jealous God, or holy war, but a religion of the Superman, a religion of a higher being, an Aryan religion per se.